FXN Trading, welcome back, guys, to our weekly video of looking at setups, and we're going to go ahead and look at the pound pairs this week. The week just ended today, so let's just go ahead and see what kind of opportunities we could identify here on these pound pairs for this week. All right, so we're just going to start off with pound USD, and like always, yellow line here is the beginning of the week. And here we go. So what do we see here? Here's our Asian box. And then what kind of setups could we have gotten out of this Asian box here? The only thing that we see, that I see here at least, would have been a good type 3 setup here. And let's see if I can draw this out here for you. So we have basically move up. Let me change this to white. White. Move down, move back up, move right back down into the middle of the Asian range, and then boom, we get that move right there. All right, so a good type 3 setup here. Let me zoom in here so you guys can see it really good. So here we go, middle of the Asian range here. We get a W formation and pops up. So we're looking at what, good 59 pips or so. So that would have been a good setup there during London. All right, let's move on to the next day here. All right, so on this day here, we have our Asian range, and then we really don't get either a type 1, type 2, type 3 setup during London. So this is not something that essentially we would have been able to get into, because it doesn't give us anything at all that we could trade off of, to get into this trade here. What we do see, though, is a setup for the U.S. session. Remember, if we don't if we can't identify a trade setup during London, because the pattern, like you said, like you see here, is just not there to help us identify, us a good entry, then we're gonna look for just a reversal off of the U.S. session, right? So here we go with the reversal here, and you can see we moved up, came down, moved up again. Here's where it broke previous highs and probably got a lot of contracts right in this area here. And then look what happened. It railroad tracked right back down, right? So that would have been a good entry right there. And so you would have been looking at taking it to Mayo. That would have been 40 pips or so. Okay. So 40 pips on that trade. And that's definitely a good setup. You have an M formation, and then it ended on a railroad track. All right. All right, so let's go to the next day here. And we have two different setups here on this one. We do have a type 2 setup. Basically, we're trading out of the Asian high here, and we end up getting railroad tracks straight down. So in this case, we didn't have to wait for an M or W formation or anything like that to form, because we ended up getting railroad tracks. So the only time, of course, keep this in mind, guys, that the only time that we take a trade straight out without having to wait for a second leg is going to be if we get a railroad track, a morning or an evening star, or a cord of wood. Okay, so those are the only ones that you don't have to wait for the second leg for, because it's obviously not creating an M or a W. Okay, so on this one here, we got a nice little railroad track, and then we could have gotten a good 74 pips out of that. Now, here's the cool part about it, is that if you would have been watching it the whole time, look what we ended up getting. So we go into the US session and we go up, we come back down, and then boom, we get a W formation out of the US session. And it also happens to be on railroad tracks again. Second leg railroad track. Boom. Okay. And so we're looking at another 30 pips. Okay. Take it to water as a take profit and you're done. Next day after this, two more trades here we could have taken. So first one is going to be here, coming down, came up right here, came back down, and did that. There's your one trade. This is a type 2 setup. We're at the Asian low here, created a W formation, went back up. All right, so here's the interesting part about this, guys, is that once we get this trade in here, right, and this trade would have given us what, 37 pips or so, 30, let's just call it 35 pips. Look what we ended up getting here on the return is we just keep on getting some movements here, and then boom, we get an M formation here, and then we can take that one all the way down. So it would have been right after catch up, you would have gotten in, and that's almost another 97 pips right there. So that's even a even better trade there. Okay. So two nice trade setups back to back on pound USD. And then finally here, this is on Friday. We really don't see, to be honest with you, I don't see any kind of good setups here. I mean, you could see setups, right? You see a bunch of different ones that you could, could potentially be, but there's really, as you can see, it just really just moves sideways, you know. You could have seen an information forming here, but it really didn't go anywhere. It really just kept on moving in a range of its own here. And it wasn't until the US session until it finally broke out. But I mean, these aren't, this really wasn't a good, it didn't have any kind of good setups. You know, there are definitely some trades that you could have taken. You could have taken this one here, railroad track to a buy, right? And that would have been like what, 20 pips or so. But I mean, like you see, it's just not, it really wasn't it didn't produce any good, any good trades. However, the setups may have looked like they're there, right? As you can see, you can make a whole bunch of M's and W's out of all this stuff, right? You can make M's, you can make W's. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? So you can make an M here, you can make a W here. So this would definitely have been a better trade here if you would have made that W there. But at the end of the day, these are some of the trades that if you do take, because that's, the pattern is there, right? You see an M formation form, you're like, man, it's going to go back down again, right? And go down another level. Well, and if it doesn't happen, of course, then, you're basically going to get stopped out. And it's okay because it's one trade. You know what I mean? It's one trade out of how many that you could have potentially taken throughout the week. And so, of course, just remember that you're going to lose some trades regardless. So, this right here might have been some of the trades that you would have lost, you know, depending on whether you're actually tracking this or not. So just keep that in mind, But when you're looking at this particular one, and you think to yourself, you're all the way down here, right? You've already had, if you look at the Asian box, right, you've had 2 days of fall. You've had 2 days of fall after 2 days of rise. So 2 days of rise and then 2 days of fall, right? So what level are you at? You know, one, two, three. So if you're at level three here, technically you're not looking for a sell, you're looking for a buy, right? Is what you're looking for. So just keep that in mind. So this is where, if you do the Asian box, we call it Asian boxing, box stacking, essentially is what we call it. But this will definitely help you identify what level you're on. One, two, three. One, two, reset. One, two, three. So just keep that in mind. But even if, like I said, even if you would have taken these trades, I mean, you could have possibly won a couple. Um, at the end of the day, when you look at the rules though that we follow, keep in mind that remember that if you're not in profit within 2 hours, then you need to scratch yourself out. You know, so just keep that in mind also. But yeah, so this last day here could have been probably the worst day of trading out of the whole week because the price really just didn't move unless you stuck with it and you caught that W right here at the beginning of the U.S. session. Okay, and that could have definitely gotten you a nice little trade setup. But other than that, that was it for that one.